The whiskey burned like fire down my throat, but it was nothing compared to the inferno raging in my chest as I stared at the man who'd raised my best friend like a son. His own son, really, now pressing me against the cold granite countertop in the shadows of his own goddamn kitchen. "Daniel," he whispered, his voice rough and ragged, like gravel under tires on a back road in rural Ohio. "I've wanted this since the day you turned 18 and looked at me like you saw right through the bullshit." His hand, calloused from years fixing engines in that auto shop, slid up my thigh, bold as brass, while upstairs, his wife hummed along to some old Springsteen track, oblivious, her footsteps creaking the floorboards like a ticking bomb. I shoved him back, my heart slamming against my ribs like a caged animal, but my body betrayed me, heat pooling low where his touch lingered. "Mr. Thompson, Richard, this isn't. Alex is right upstairs, and your wife's making pie for fuck's sake. What the hell are you doing?" My voice cracked, a whisper shout that echoed too loud in the quiet house. The kind of suburban McMansion in the sprawling outskirts of Columbus, where everyone pretends their lives are as apple pie perfect as the cul-de-sac lawns. He didn't flinch, just stepped closer again, his broad shoulders blocking the moonlight spilling through the window over the sink. That same window where I'd washed dishes 100 times during sleepovers, laughing with Alex about girls we'd never chase. Richard's eyes, steel gray and stormy, locked on mine, and in that moment, I saw the fracture lines. The divorce he'd buried under flannel shirts and football games, the loneliness he drowned in late-night beers on the porch. "I'm done pretending, kid. Done watching you grow into this man who makes my blood run hot, while I play the straight arrow dad everyone expects. You feel it too. Don't lie to me." His lips crashed against mine then, tasting of bourbon and regret, and the world tilted, the line we towed for years shattering like cheap glass under a boot heel. I was Daniel Hayes, 22 years old, fresh out of Ohio State with a useless degree in graphic design and a mountain of student loans that felt like chains around my neck. Columbus wasn't New York or LA, but it had its own gritty pulse. The Ohio River snaking through like a vein of forgotten dreams, dive bars where locals nursed grudges over Buckeye shots, and endless cornfields that whispered promises of escape if you just drove far enough. I crashed at Alex Thompson's place more times than I could count since we were kids, back when we'd build forts in his backyard with stolen sheets and dream of hitting the big leagues or Silicon Valley. Alex was the golden boy, quarterback in high school, now grinding as a junior accountant downtown, straight as an arrow with a girlfriend named Sarah who baked vegan casseroles and quoted self-help books like scripture. But me, I was the wild card, the one who'd come out to our tight-knit group in a dive bar on our 18th birthday, beer in hand, heart in my throat, only for Alex to clap me on the back and say, "Dude, you're still my brother. Now by the next round." His dad, Richard, had been there that night, looming in the corner booth like an oak tree in a thunderstorm, nursing a Bud Light and nodding approval when Alex vouched for me. "World's full of assholes. Dan," he'd grunted, his voice like the rumble of a V8 engine. "You stand tall, you hear?" I'd idolized him back then. 6'3", built like a linebacker gone to seed, with laugh lines etched deep from coaching Little League and fixing neighbors' transmissions for free. He was the dad I wished I'd had, mine being a ghost who split when I was 10, leaving Mom to sling coffee at the diner off I-71. That night in the kitchen, though, everything warped. It was Labor Day weekend, the air thick with grill smoke and the distant pop of fireworks from the neighborhood block party. Alex had dragged me over for one last hurrah before Sarah's family barbecue, and I'd been nursing a crush on his dad for God knows how long, stolen glances at his forearms flexing under rolled-up sleeves, the way he'd ruffle my hair like I was still a kid, his touch lingering a beat too long. I chalked it up to hero worship, buried it under hookups with faceless guys on Grindr, telling myself it was just daddy issues in a city where everyone chased the American dream but tripped over their own lies. Upstairs, Linda, Richard's wife of 25 years, called down, her voice sweet as iced tea. "Boys, pie's almost ready. Alex, honey, set the table." Alex yelled back a lazy "Yeah, ma," from his old bedroom, where he was probably doom-scrolling TikTok with the door cracked. Richard froze against me, his breath hot on my neck, then pulled back just enough to smirk, that crooked, world-weary grin that made my knees weak. "See? Life goes on. But this." He traced a thumb over my lower lip, smearing the taste of him. "This is ours. Just say the word, Daniel." I bolted then, muttering something about needing air, stumbling out the back door into the humid night. The screen slapped shut behind me, and I leaned against the porch railing, chest heaving, the cicadas screaming like they knew my secret. What the fuck had just happened? Richard Thompson, married, straight-passing pillar of the community, had just kissed me like he was starving, and worse, I'd kissed back. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Alex. Dude, where'd you go? Dad's looking for you. Said something about showing you that old Mustang in the garage. Irony hit like a sucker punch. The garage, where Richard spent his evenings tinkering, grease under his nails, radio blasting classic rock anthems about rebels and lost highways. I didn't go back inside. Instead, I fired up my beat-up Civic and peeled out, windows down, wind whipping my face as I blasted down High Street toward the Scioto River. The city lights blurred into streaks of neon regret, and I wondered if this was how it started. The fall from grace in the heartland, where queerness wasn't a parade but a whisper in the dark. By the time I crashed at my mom's apartment, the buzz had worn off, leaving a hollow ache. Sleep came in fits, haunted by gray eyes and the ghost of bourbon lips. The next morning, my phone lit up with a voicemail from an unknown number. Richard's voice, low and urgent. Daniel, last night, I crossed a line. But don't you dare think it was a mistake. Call me. We need to talk. I deleted it, heart pounding, but the damage was done. The line wasn't just crossed. It was erased, redrawn in the sand of some forbidden territory where best friends' dads didn't devour their sons' shadows. Days blurred into a tense limbo. Alex texted nonstop. Bro, you bailed hard last night. Everything cool? Dad's been weird asking about you. I fed him lies about a migraine. Buried myself in freelance gigs designing logos for local breweries. Anything to avoid the Thompson house on Oakwood Drive. But Columbus was too small, the universe too cruel. A week later, Alex cornered me at our usual haunt, the Rusty Bucket on Lane Avenue, where the wings were spicy enough to scorch secrets away. Dude, spill, he said, slamming his pint down, foam sloshing over the edge like overflowed emotions. His blue eyes mirror of his dad's, but softer, unscarred, narrowed. You've been ghosting. Sarah thinks you're depressed or some shit. And Dad, he's been in the garage nonstop, blasting that go-doffel Metallica like he's exorcising demons. I forced a laugh, choking on a fry. Just work stress, man. Deadlines from hell. But guilt clawed at me, sharp as the river's undertow. Alex was family, the brother I'd chosen when blood failed me. Betraying him with his own father? It was a knife twist waiting to happen. That night, weakness won. I drove to Oakwood under cover of a thunderstorm, wipers slapping rhythmically like a heartbeat on the fritz. The house glowed warm against the downpour, Linda's minivan in the drive screaming domestic normalcy. I parked a block away, soaked to the bone, and texted Richard. Outside. We talk. Now. Minutes later, he emerged like a specter, flannel shirt clinging wet to his chest, pulling me into the shadows of the detached garage. The air smelled of oil and rain-soaked earth, tools scattered like forgotten confessions on the workbench. He didn't waste words. You came. His hands framed my face, thumbs brushing rain from my cheeks, and then he was kissing me again. Deeper this time, hungrier, like the storm outside was nothing compared to the one brewing between us. I melted into it, hands fisting his shirt, pulling him closer until the workbench dug into my back. Clothes shed in frantic pulls, his body solid and real against mine. All hard planes and soft yields from years of living hard. God, Daniel. He groaned into my neck, voice breaking on my name like a prayer. You're everything I didn't know I needed. We moved like outlaws, urgent and silent, the thunder masking our gasps. It was raw, electric, his stubble scraping my skin, fingers mapping territories we'd both denied. When it ended, we slumped against the concrete floor, breaths sinking in the afterglow, his arm heavy across my waist. This can't be just once, he murmured, lips brushing my temple. I've been dead inside for years, kid. Linda and I. It's a habit, not a life. But you make me feel alive. I wanted to believe him, to drown in the romance of it all. Two lost souls in the Rust Belt heartland stealing fire from the gods. But doubt whispered, wife upstairs, son next door, lies stacking like cordwood. What about Alex? I whispered, tracing the wedding band he still wore, a cold circle of accusation. Richard's face darkened, shadows playing across his features. He'll hate me, but he deserves the truth eventually. For now, let me have this. He kissed me soft then, a promise laced with peril, and I nodded, fool that I was, stepping back into the rain with his scent on my skin and his number burning in my phone. What followed was a fever dream of stolen moments, the kind that bloom in secrecy like wildflowers through cracked pavement. Weekday afternoons when Linda volunteered at the church bake sale, we'd meet in his shop off Sawmill Road, the clang of wrenches drowning our whispers. He'd text me lyrics from Tom Petty songs, even the losers get lucky sometimes. And I'd show up with coffee from Pistacia Vera, black and bitter as our choices. Our bodies learned each other like sacred text. The curve of his hip under my palm, the salt of his sweat on my tongue. It was romantic, yeah. Candlelit drives along the Olentangy, his hand on my knee as we sang off-key to Bruce Springsteen, but laced with drama, every creak of a floorboard a potential apocalypse. I fell hard, rewriting my loneliness in the language of his touch. Richard opened up in fragments. The pressure of being the provider, the straight man in a marriage fraying at the edges since Alex came out of the closet. Wait, no, Alex was straight, but Richard confessed his own buried doubts from college, a fumbling encounter with a roommate he chalked up to experimentation. I married Linda to prove it wasn't me, he said one night, stars pricking the sky over Alum Creek Lake, our feet dangling off the dock. But you, Daniel, you're the proof it was always there. For him, I was redemption, a second chance at authenticity in a country that preached freedom but chained you to picket fences. We talked humanism over late-night burgers at Tommy's. How queerness in the Midwest wasn't glitter and pride flags but quiet revolutions in church basements and VFW halls. He quoted Whitman from a dog-eared Leaves of Grass he'd kept hidden. I am large, I contain multitudes, and I believed we could be that multitudes defying the script. But conflict simmered, betrayal's shadow lengthening. Alex noticed the shifts. My evasive texts, Richard's sudden silences at family dinners. One crisp October evening, as leaves turned the streets to fire, Alex cornered me again, this time at the North Market, amid the bustle of artisanal cheeses and craft brews. Dan, level with me. Is it Dad? He's been distant with Mom, snapping at me over nothing. And you, avoiding his calls like he's the IRS. My stomach dropped, fork clattering against my Euro wrap. What? No, man. He's just stressed. Shop's slow with the economy tanking. Lies tasted like ash, but the truth would incinerate us all. Alex leaned in, eyes searching. Bullshit. I saw you two last week outside the garage, laughing, touching, like more than brothers. His voice cracked, betrayal dawning slow and poisonous. Tell me I'm wrong. Couldn't. The words stuck, a lump of barbed wire. Instead, I bolted again, leaving him amid the market's hum, my world fracturing like safety glass. The climax hit like a freight train on a foggy November dawn. I'd snuck into the Thompson house at Richard's desperate text. Need you. Now, the wife away at her sister's for the weekend, Alex crashed out after a Buckeyes game bender. We tumbled into his bed, the marital one, sheets smelling of lavender detergent and old sins. It was tender, almost, slow kisses tracing collarbones, his whispers of love against my ear like gospel. Move in with me, he murmured, fingers interlaced. When I tell her, we'll start over. You and me, Daniel, real life. Hope bloomed, fragile as frost on the window pane. But then the front door slammed. Footsteps, 2 sets. Linda back early, and Alex, sobering up with coffee from the all-night diner. Voices rose. Richard? Why's the truck in the drive if you're at the shop? Panic surged. Richard shoved me under the bed, childish, humiliating, like we were kids hiding contraband. I curled there, dust bunnies tickling my nose, heart thundering as they entered the room. Linda's gasp cut the air. What the? Richard, whose shoes are these? The fight erupted, volcanic. Accusations flew, her suspicions of affairs with women, she'd assumed, his fumbling denials turning to confessions. It's not what you think, Lynn, but it's over. Has been for years. Alex burst in then, piecing it together from the tension, his eyes landing on my sneakers peeking from under the dust ruffle. Daniel. His voice was a blade, slicing through the chaos. He yanked me out, face twisted in horror and rage. You? With my dad? While mom's downstairs baking your fucking pie. The betrayal landed like a gut punch, his fist connecting with my jaw before Richard could pull him off. Blood bloomed metallic on my tongue, the room spinning into a whirlwind of shouts. Linda's sobs, Richard's pleas, Alex's roar of "Get out! Both of you traitors!" I fled into the gray morning, bruised and broken, the suburbs blurring past like judgmental eyes. Richard called endlessly, voicemails fracturing. "I'm leaving her. For us. Please." But Alex's final text sealed it. "You're dead to me. Don't ever come back." Winter clamped down on Columbus like a vice. Snow blanketing the sins, holidays hollow with mom's forced cheer over turkey and resentment. I spiraled. Gigs dried up, nights lost to bars where anonymous hands couldn't fill the void. Richard showed up once, at my door under a street lamp's halo, eyes hollowed by divorce papers and a son who wouldn't speak to him. "We can fix this," he begged, pulling me into the hallway's dim light for a desperate kiss. But I pushed away. "You broke everything, Richard. Alex, my brother, he'll never forgive. And me? I'm just the side piece in your midlife crisis." Tears stung, hot and human. "This isn't romance. It's wreckage." He left with shoulders slumped, the door clicking shut like finality. Months dragged, therapy sessions in a strip mall office where the shrink droned about boundaries and self-worth. Spring thawed the ice, bringing green shoots of possibility. A new job at a design firm downtown, tentative coffees with old friends who didn't pry. Then, redemption's whisper. A letter from Alex, scrawled on yellow legal pad. "Dan, I hated you, hated him, but mom's moving to Florida, starting over. Dad's trying. Therapy, AA, the works. He misses you. And fuck, so do I. Not saying it's okay. Just, life's too short for grudges in this Buckeye hell. Call?" I did. Awkward laughs over wings at the bucket. Rebuilding bridges splintered by lust and lies. Richard and I met neutral ground, a park bench by the river, awkward as exes at a funeral. "I was selfish," he admitted, voice weathered. "Chased my truth, burned yours. But if you're willing, friends, slow, real." I nodded, the ache softening to something human. Forgiveness not as erasure, but as scar tissue, stronger for the tear. We didn't reignite the fire. Instead, we fanned embers of understanding. Alex and I roomed up again, closer for the fracture. Richard dated a guy from his AA group, cautious, open, proving reinvention possible even in the heartland. In the end, it wasn't a fairy tale. No white knights or picket fence parades. Just us, flawed Americans, stitching humanity from the threads of betrayal and longing. Under Ohio stars, vast and indifferent, I learned love isn't a line to cross, but a map to redraw, one honest step at a time. And damn if that didn't feel like the truest freedom of all.